We continue with our Theology of the Body Mondays, and you may not recall what we talked about last time because it was a little bit ago. So last time we were talking about the fact that truth exists outside of us. The truth is discovered. For example, the fact that water is H2O, that it is composed of two, I don't know, molecules, is that the word, of hydrogen and one of oxygen. That is not just decided by a random scientist. That is just a fact. It exists outside of us, and scientists have discovered. Also, the fact if I jump off a building, I'm going to fall and I'm gonna get hurt, and I don't get to decide that it's a fact. And if I were to want to decide it for myself and say, well, I will jump off and not fall, well, reality is gonna catch up to me because I will fall once I jump and I will get hurt, right? Well, I'm speaking about this because all of this has an impact on morality as well, on theological truth, things that have to do with theology of the body. So, for example, who gets to decide if something is good or evil? Who decides that? For example, the horrible thing of torturing a child. Who gets to decide if this is evil or not? Is it the church that decides this? Is it priest? Is it me? Do I get to decide if that's evil or not evil? Or is it maybe like the majority? If we put it up for a vote, in a society, well, the majority say it's not evil, so then it's not evil. Or the majority say it is evil, so therefore, okay, because the majority say that it's evil, then it's evil, right? Well, no one gets to decide, right? Torturing a child is evil, and it's a fact that exists outside of anybody's thought or opinion, right? It's how God has made reality. It's a truth that exists outside of us. And no one gets to say, for me, it's not evil. Like, yeah, for you, maybe it's evil to torture a child, but for me, it's not evil, right? That would be a falsehood. It would be a false opinion, right? And that's similar to saying, well, for me, I'm going to drink arsenic, or arsenic like poison, and it will not hurt me. Well, you don't get to decide that. If you drink arsenic, it will kill you, right? Similarly, with torturing a child, you don't get to decide if it's evil or not. It just is, right? And so I mentioned all of this before we go more into the weeds of how theology of the body impacts kind of sexual morality in more concrete ways. Because I do think, myself included, we've been infected a little bit by this reality of what people have termed relativism. And maybe you're familiar with this term, maybe you're not. But relativism is very, very prevalent today, and I think all of us, even without noticing, have maybe adopted a little bit of a relativistic way of thinking. What is relativism? So relativism is an understanding of reality where objective truth does not exist. So truth really does not exist outside of us. And so each person can decide what is true for themselves, and two people can hold contrary views about the same matter in the same respect, and both of those things can be true at the same time, which contradicts just the principle of non-contradiction. So it doesn't really stand. Relativism is false. My car, I drive a RAV4 Toyota, and it needs gas, right? That was the way it was designed. And if I were to say, well, no, Toyota doesn't get to decide what I put into my car, I get to decide, and both of us are going to be right, and then I go and put water instead of gas in my car, well, I didn't get to decide. It's going to mess up my car, right? So all of this is important to give in the background, right? Regarding as we continue to explore truths about human sexuality. There is an objective meaning to human sexuality outside of us, just exists outside of us, how God has made a reality. And it is not the church that decides, whether, it's good or not to watch pornography or something like that. It is not the church. It's just a fact. Like, a person should not be used. It is below the dignity, rights, etc., right? And so, anyway, two more things to consider regarding all of this. The first is that there are such things as opinions, okay? There are such things as opinions, right? And opinions are not as objective. They're not objective. So, if we were to talk about what is the best type of ice cream, well, I would say, well, it's cookies and cream. Is that a fact, objective fact? Yes, it is. No, I'm just kidding. It's not. It's an opinion. And you can say, well, yeah, Father, for you, cookies and cream is the best type of ice cream. But for me, it's chocolate. Okay, great, yeah. Because it's an opinion, it's a taste, and it's fine for both of us to say, for me, yeah, totally. Things called opinions, it's totally fine. But the other things that exist outside of us, that they're not opinion. Like again, H2O, 2 plus 2 is 4. Torturing a child is evil. It's not a matter of opinion, it's just a fact. And the last thing to say regarding all of this to consider is this thing that I kind of notice even in myself. There can be pain in accepting this, and even just accepting like certain truths, because it's hard, because it demands something of me. Like, I think of an example. When I was younger, I was dating somebody. I was in high school, and whatever, she got invited to this cool party that I couldn't go, and I was like, no, she shouldn't go, because like I, she can't be having all this fun without me, all this stuff. And I was like kind of like all angry and stuff, and my parents saw that I was upset. They're like, why are you so upset? Like, oh, well, she's going to this party, and yeah, I was a teenager, okay, don't judge. I'm like, oh, she's going to this party, and like, what? Like she shouldn't be going because I'm not going, and like, she's my girlfriend, all this stuff. And then my parents was like, is she going with somebody else, like another guy? And I was like, no, no. Then like, well, then like, she can go and have fun with her friends. Like, you're being possessive. And like, did I like hearing that? Absolutely not. I was like living inside of myself as my parents told me that. And and part of why it was hard to accept is because as they were saying it, I knew they were telling me the truth. And that means that I had to let go, like that I was not justified in my behavior of possessiveness. Uh, and that was hurt, like that was hard. Like, I have to change and conform myself to the truth that I am being kind of possessive, and that there's nothing wrong about her going to this party if I can't go, right? And like, this is just a dumb example, but we can think about other things. Like, again, I was sharing the example of pornography. Like, if I'm addicted to pornography and somebody tells me it's evil, well, that's hard. That's hard to hear, because that means like maybe I should really strive to stop looking at it, or whatever it is my sin is, or even outside of sin, right? So there's this interesting reality that there's a hardship, a pain that can be um, to truth, because it challenges us, and so it's better to say, well, no, that's just kind of your truth, because I don't want it to impact me, right? um, but the loving thing to do is always to encourage each other to live in the truth, right? If I'm gonna go put water in my car, it'd be loving for you to tell me, Father, I know you think you can decide this for yourself, it's going to mess your car. And then if I decide to not listen to you and put water in my car, then I can deal with the consequences. But the loving thing to you would be for you to tell me, so as to not mess up my car, right? Because you care for me and you don't want me to pay whatever. I haven't even finished paying it anyway, so, right? So just some things to consider as we dive into more concrete things about sexuality.